Hello snowboarders of the internet, I am your host TC and today I will be reviewing the Capita Navigator. This board is equipped with Capita's Resort V2 directional camber profile. So what that means is you're gonna have camber in between your feet here with a longer rocker section in the nose and a shorter rocker section in the tail. So what that's gonna do is that nose is gonna float really well in that fresh powder and be able to turn nice and easy on groomers, where that center of the board is gonna give you all that pop, snap, and drive you're looking for with that slight rocker on the tail just to help get in and out of turns as well. The Navigator is coming in some new sizes this year that are for women. It is unisex, so just keep that in mind, but you're looking at a 143, 147, 151, 155, 158, 161, 164, and a 167 for the big dogs. I rode this board at Copper Mountain, where it started off as a beautiful sunny day that was a little bit chilly in the morning, where we had about 5 fresh inches of snow from the night before. They groomed the center of the runs and left pretty much everything else, like the sides, all of that, where the snow did definitely load to one side of the mountain, got a lot deeper than 5 inches, and as the day wore on, it definitely got warmer and turned into that spring mashed potatoes snow. I used my Ride Fuse boots and Jones Mercury bindings. When it comes to flex, this thing is coming in at about the middle of the road, I would say. Since I rode a little bit bigger size, it did feel a little stiffer, but when we kind of tailor that down, it's about in the middle of the road with a directional flex as well. So that nose is gonna be noticeably softer than the center of the board, and the tail is gonna be slightly stiffer than the nose, where the center of the board is still gonna be the guts to it, I would say. Torsionally, it does fit that profile as well, where it might give you a little resistance when you're foot steering it, but nothing too crazy. Now, when we talk about the stability on this board, it is fairly stable, definitely more on that lively side, but with the new top sheet, it does cut down on those micro vibrations really well. Now, when we get into that chunkier snow, that stuff that they didn't groom or anything like that, I did notice it was kind of getting bounced around a tad bit on those push piles and that sort of thing. But as long as you stayed low and pretty much knew what you were doing, it wasn't getting just jarred around or anything like that. It felt fairly stable. This board has really nice spring to it, I'll say, where when you do load it up, you don't have to load up a whole bunch on it because of that tail having a little bit more rocker to it. It doesn't really take all of your weight to really get it off the ground there, where it was actually really fun. We went into Spalding Bowl. There was a little side hit there over, or pretty much off a rock over some bushes into some nice powder, and it held up perfectly for me. I really didn't have to lean back or anything to get that nose to float over the snow and create a nice little launch ramp for me. It just naturally did it, where I could just slightly pop the tail, have enough confidence to make it over. When I landed in that fresh powder, it held up extremely well. The nose just wanted to stay up. Even when I landed bolts on it, the nose just popped right up and it just kept me going, and I was even able to hit a nice carve after that. So overall, it is stable. When you do ollie it on flat or on groomers or anything like that, just know that it doesn't take a lot of effort, and when you land, it's gonna wanna land flat instead of like digging in on your heel or your toe edge. While I have you here, make sure you like, subscribe, click that bell, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of the scheduled programming we have coming out. This board is a butter machine when it comes to fresh powder. You get on that nose and you can really just lean into it. Use that pretty much whole contact point right there is gonna be your sweet spot, and it will hold up to this flat kick, as they call it, the wapow nose on it, where it creates that nice flat surface to hold you. When you do pop out, there will be a slight spring to it, and if we translate that over to the tail, there is definitely going to be more of a spring on the pop out, just because that rocker section is shorter. You still do have a really good sweet spot on it. Even when you're like buttering and powder on it, you can lean pretty much all the way back, and that wapow tail on it will provide a nice holding point for you, where when you leave that butter, it's still gonna pop out. Overall, very comfortable, where you're not really pushing all your weight to one side or the other and really trying to manhandle this thing. You'll just expect a little bit resistance and then a nice little pop on the way out. The main thing to keep in mind when carving this board in the fresh pow or in that fresh chop is it's gonna go right through it. Now, when you get into the more set up like push piles, that sort of thing, it might get a little squirrely on you, but the main thing to keep in mind is it's gonna be stable on edge. Now, when you're on those short, quick carves, it gets over nice and easy because of the taper in the board. It just goes edge to edge nice and fast. Now, when you're on those medium and larger carves, especially in powder, it feels extremely smooth. There really didn't feel like a speed limit on it or anything like that. When you get into that more beat up snow, there will be more of a speed limit. You might feel that nose chattering slightly, but nothing too crazy. Now, when you go to Euro carve this thing, keep all that pressure and that weight more towards the back foot, and that'll keep you a little bit more stable than trying to engage the nose where it might try to wander on you. Rider in mind. This board is made for that person that already has a well-established quiver, but they just need that powder board. They're gonna use this thing pretty much from opening bell to closing bell, and they want to ride every condition there is, from hitting cliff drops to just nice groomers to even taking it to those hike out terrains and riding back in bounds with it. This is going to be their powder board. They just need this to pretty much handle everything for them out there. If you want to show us a little extra support, head on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP. What is it, you ask? I could explain it here, but we have a great video over there getting into it really in depth. I absolutely love that they put a wood veneer on this board. It kind of stiffens it up a little bit from everything that I've heard in the past. It used to be pretty soft. This one has a little bit more girth to it, which I actually really like. It was super fun, handled all that fresh dry snow, and even handled all that wet crowd that pretty much turned out about halfway through the day. But overall, it was a super awesome power board, really fun. Like, if I owned one of these, I would own it in a 61. It didn't feel that big when I was riding it, but it had all the float I was looking for. Overall, super rad board. Love what Capita's done with it. Comparable boards: the Ride Moderator, the Ravine, and the Salomon Fish. Recommended bindings: the Union Falcor, the Jones Mercury, and the K2 edition. This has been my review of the Capita Navigator. If you still need to do a little bit more research on a POW board, why don't you check out one of the reviews that we have for the comparable boards.